Hello guys and welcome back. In this section we are going to talk about the basic types that we have in TypeScript. So these are all the basic types that we have. We have booleans, numbers, strings, void, array, which can be of any type. So it is a generic type here. Then we have any, enum, null and undefined. We also have tuple. So we are going to talk about all these types in this video. So let me just quickly go back to my Visual Studio Code, and in here I'm going to create a new file that is going to host our JavaScript files that will be converted, and this is going to be of type HTML5. So this should be the code that should be present inside, and in here I'm going to create a script tag with a source, and the source is going to be, say, types.js. Now the types.js file isn't really there right now, so we'll have to create one, but this is something that is going to be created by the TypeScript compiler and not by us. We will be creating a types.ts file, and the TypeScript compiler is going to convert that into types.js file. So I'll create a file named types.ts, and let me open the command terminal by pressing the control and backticks sign, and let me switch back to the command mode by typing in cmd. And now I can if I type something like console.log and say hello world, and let's save that, and if I type in something like tsc, that stands for the TypeScript compiler, and types.ts, this is going to generate a types.js file for us right here. Okay, and this is the same file that we have supplied here. So let's say if I open this up, let me reveal this in Explorer and open this. This is going to print hello world onto the screen. Now let's start by defining some types in my TypeScript, in my types.ts file. Let me get rid of this. Let's save that. Now if I want to prevent myself from compiling the file again and again, I can run the TypeScript compiler in watch mode by supplying the flag -w and supplying the file name, that is types.ts. Now whenever I change or whenever I make any changes to the file, the TypeScript compiler is going to kick in and it's going to compile that particular file. So if I say change this to hello and save it, TypeScript is going to detect, the compiler is going to detect the change, and it is going to compile the file and render it onto the screen again. So if I go back here and if I reload this page, then it is going to print hello onto the screen instead of hello world. So far so good. Now let's start with some types. So we will start up with the boolean type. So I'll go back to the TypeScript file here, and let me declare a variable named my boolean, and this is going to be of type boolean. So if I specify this as a type boolean, now I'll be getting some error here that says that boolean only refers to a type, but it is being used as a value here. So let me specify the let keyword here like so, and once let is used, then it is going to declare a variable named by my boolean. And now this my boolean can be given a value of either true, or it can be given a value of false, or it can be given a value of null, or it can be given a value of undefined. Now the null and undefined values that we have here are the base values for all the types that we have. So any particular variable of any type can be given a value of null or undefined. Now but apart from that, if I try to give it a number, it's going to give me an error. If I give it a string, then it is going to give me an error. If I give it an array, then it is also going to give me an error. The next type that we have is numbers. So let me declare a variable named my num here, which is going to be of type number, and this number can be my num equal to, it can be a positive number, it can be a negative number, it can be a decimal number, positive, it can be a negative decimal number, it can be a hexadecimal number as well, so something like that. It can be an octal number as well, like so, and it can also be a binary number, so something like that. Something like that. Okay, and then finally it can also have a value of null, and it can also have a value of undefined, but apart from that it can not have any other value of types, either a string or a boolean. In all those cases it is going to give us an error. After that we have the string types. So if I declare a variable my string which is of type string, then this string that we see right here, it can either be a string in single quotation marks, it can be a string in double quotation marks, it can be a function call that returns a string. So if I type something like return something here, and I'll have to call this as well. So if I call this, now this function that we have right here returns a string, so this can also be assigned to this my string variable here. Now my string can also be a function called onto a string. So if I call a method, say splice or say slice on it, like so, this is also going to work as expected, because slice is a method that returns a string. And finally this can have a value of null, and it can also have a value of undefined, but it can again not have a value of a number or a boolean in that case, or it can also not have a value of an array. It is going to give us an error in that case. Now we have a type called void, and voids are generally used for functions. So let's say if this was a function that I had, say log to console, and this did nothing apart from logging something to the console, then we can supply this with a type void, and this is going to work. Now even if I don't supply the return type, this is by default inferred from the type that TypeScript infers from functions without any type, or from variables without any types. Apart from that, we have arrays. So let's say this is an array of type string. So my array can have just strings in single or double quotation marks, and it can also have strings that we saw here. So if I do something like this, then it can also be added to this array right here, but it cannot contain any other value, like it cannot contain a number or a boolean. So but it can still contain a null, and it can contain an undefined as well. After that we have there is one more thing that I wanted to show you guys. Let me just get rid of this. Now if you want an array of type or of multiple types, so let's say if this is a generic array that can be either of type string or it can be of type say number, so it can either be a string array or a number array. So in that case you'll have to declare it this way, and then you can define it like so this can contain either a string or a number. Now there are two other ways to define this, so let me just comment the first one out. The second way to do this is to do something like string array or number array, and this is going to work as expected, or maybe not. So okay, so I got the issue here. I should get rid of this like so, and arrays can also be defined like so, string or number, and then this is going to work as expected as well. The third way to define these arrays is by doing something like an array, and inside that we can either have a string or a number. So this can be an array of a string or a number like so. Now it's going to give me an error saying that this is not assignable to type. So maybe we can also do, apart from this, something like a string array or a number array, and is going to give us an error in that case as well. So these are the ways in which an array can be defined. So this one is the generic way of doing it, and this one is the normal way in which an array can be defined. Then apart from that we have a type any. So let's say I declare a variable my any of type any, and then my any can be given any value. It can be given a number, it can be given a string, it can be given a boolean as well, it can be given an array of strings and numbers and booleans as well, and my any can again be null, and it can also be undefined. After that we have a type enum. Now enums are generally used when you want to say, like for example, if you're working on a calendar application and you want to show the days for a particular date. So the days are going to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on and so forth, and these days are generally constants in nature. So you can create an enum days, and this has a similar signature to that of an object, and inside this you can declare these variables. So let's say we define 3 of them: Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now if I wanted to use this somewhere, let's say for example let day today, and let's say I define this or declare this of type days, and I can assign this something like days.monday or Tuesday or Wednesday as well. Now we also get IntelliSense in that case, so that is another plus that we have here. These can also be given some values, like say for example Monday can be given a value of or I'll have to use the equal to sign in this case. So Monday can be given a value of 1, Tuesday can be given a value of Tuesday, and Wednesday can be given a value of Wednesday, something like that. And these are zero based, so that is something that should be kept in mind. After that we have null and undefined. So let's say I create a variable named my null. So this is of type null. So I can give the variable my null a value of null, and I can also give it a value of undefined, but I cannot give it any other type of value apart from that. So if I try to give it a number, it's going to give me an error, a string, an error. If I give it a boolean, then also it's going to give me an error. And same is going to be the case with undefined. So let's say if I copy this and let's change my null to my undefined. So in that case, if this is going to be of type undefined, this can be given values like null and undefined as well. One last thing that we need to have a look at is a tuple. So now the signature of a tuple is something like this. So say for example, if this was my tuple that could contain a string or a number, then in that case I should be assigning the first argument as a string and a second argument as a number, and after that I can assign any other thing like a boolean, sorry, not a boolean, a string and a number in that case again. So these are the first two types of variables that can be assigned to it. Apart from that, we can have other types as well. So say for example, if I assign it a number, then it's going to give me an error saying that this is not assignable to variable of type this. So this is how tuples work. So if this is going to be the signature of it, and I cannot assign something like my tuple equal to a number first and then a string, in that case as well it is going to give us an error. Now we don't really use tuples that much in Angular applications, but apart from that, all these types that we saw earlier, that is a boolean, let me just open this properly. So yeah, we generally use booleans, numbers, strings and arrays, and type any if we want to migrate from JavaScript to TypeScript, and then we also use enums in some cases. So again, just to summarize, a boolean can be given a value of type true, false, null or undefined. A number can be given values of type positive integers, negative integers, positive decimal numbers, negative decimal numbers, a hexadecimal, an octal or a binary. And then apart from that, null and undefined, that are the base types for any particular type out there. Then we have strings that can be assigned values in the form of string, in either in single quotation marks or in double quotation marks, or as a function that returns a string, or a function that is called on a string, or a null or an undefined. Now void is something that can be used for functions, and for functions that don't really return anything, void can be used as a return type for them, like so. Then we have arrays. So arrays can be something like this. So if this is a string array, then it would only accept strings. So we can use a pipe symbol like so to make an array of a particular type, or it can be of multiple types as well, something like this. And we can also define the same thing like this as well. And apart from that, I guess if we do something like this, and that is going to be the same thing, I guess. So let me just comment this out as well again. Apart from that, we have a type any that can be assigned any type of value, can either be a number or a string or a boolean or an array or null or undefined. Then we have enums that are used whenever we want to use something like, say for example, days of the week or something on the similar lines. We can declare an enum like this and then we can use it like this. And then we have null and undefined that are the base types for all the types out there. We also saw tuples that aren't really used much in TypeScript and Angular. So that was all regarding this particular basic types section. In the next video we are going to talk about let and const. So I'll see you guys in there.